On this week's episode of Bayou TV, the sportsman's paradise is in peril. Decades of receding marsh, land loss, storms, and erosion have created a grim future for Louisiana's coast.
Coastal erosion was my biggest issue, and it really kind of set my mind in motion, realizing that I need to make a change.
Following in the footsteps of one of America's greatest conservationists, local and national organizations are contributing to the efforts to preserve our last stops for fishing.
The state has put forth a lot of effort in investing oil spill money and other revenues in rebuilding those barrier islands.
Closed captioning made possible by Explore Kayak Adventure Company. Fishing, sightseeing to photography tours, everything to make your paddling adventure happen. See Explore Kayak Adventure Company on Facebook and Instagram.
Every day, we strive to preserve traditions that have spanned generations.
Around every turn of the bayou, Mother Nature reveals unique people, places, and experiences.
And the bounty of animals and fish. Well, in Louisiana, we just call that lagniappe. I'm Don Dubuque.
I'm Chris Macaluso.
I'm Captain Martha Spencer. Join us as we document the adventure,
Sportsmanship,
and heritage that make us Bayou Wild.
Coastal erosion was my biggest issue. When I started fishing in Buras, junior high, high school, started working for Ryan Lambert in mid-90s, and I just watched that whole place wash away, which is so disheartening. And we kept having high rivers, and just there was so many factors. But I remember the day I was fishing in a place called Spoonbill Island. I was fishing with 3 old men that had fished with me for 17, 18 years. And it was a chain of islands that, you know, was huge when I first started fishing there, and now there's hardly anything left. And there were 13 boats in a circle around it, and that old man asked me, he says, Lloyd, he said, where are we gonna fish in 2 years? And it really kind of set my mind in motion, realizing that I need to make a change. And I'm a river fisherman, and I just moved to the west to the Chafalaya River. And you know, there's a lot to offer here. And the fishery is the same as Buras was when I was a kid. You know, we have so much marsh here, whereas over there we lost so much marsh. So it's been a great change. The fishery is very consistent. You know, we have a lot of structure to fish on calm days, and when it's windy, we have just endless marsh to fish reds and trout in the spring and the fall and the winter. So very happy with what I did.
Coming up,
We're back at Whiskey Island. It's one of the largest coastal restoration projects in Louisiana history. This entire island was rebuilt from about 2017 to about late 2018, using about $120 million in oil spill penalty monies. And since, it's become just an excellent place. It was a great place to trout fish before, but it's become really a great place for folks to come out here. The cool thing about Whiskey Island here in Terrebonne Parish is that the marsh, unlike some of the other islands that are east of here, the marsh comes almost all the way up to the backside of this island. And this is the front line of defense for protecting all of that interior marsh that's so popular for sportsmen up around Dulac, Dularge, and everything in western Terrebonne. It's really an important project to keep the integrity of Terrebonne Parish together.
In 1967, Dutch Stogner realized his dream to run his own meat market. 50 years and 3 generations later, Double D and the Stogner family still operate with Dutch's original commitment to quality. Pick up some Double D sausage today and share your good times with us on Facebook. In 1967, Dutch Stogner realized his dream to run his own meat market. 50 years and 3 generations later, Double D and the Stogner family still operate with Dutch's original commitment to quality. Pick up some Double D sausage today and share your good times with us on Facebook.
Louisiana's barrier islands are unique coastal habitat and our first line of defense for hurricanes. In the early 1900s, President Theodore Roosevelt fell in love with Louisiana. Footage here shows his visit to one of Louisiana's barrier islands, where he's seen admiring the wide variety of birds. Roosevelt wrote, "To lose the chance to see frigate birds soaring in circles above the storm, or a file of pelicans winging their way homeward across the crimson afterglow of sunset, is like the loss of a gallery of the masterpieces of the artists of old time." Today, modeled after the footsteps of America's 26th president, the Theodore Roosevelt Conservation Partnership advocates for restoration efforts that benefit outdoorsmen and women.
But Theodore Roosevelt had a very strong connection to Louisiana. He came down here to hunt. Anybody who's familiar with the sulfur mine over by Catfish Lake out of Golden Meadow, is familiar with Bully Camp Lake. That was named after Theodore Roosevelt. We model our organization after his mission. He was one of the great conservationists, one of the great outdoorsmen, statesmen in our country, brought a lot of folks together to work on conserving hunting and fishing opportunities and habitat. And so we model our organization after, the mission that he set out.
On a previous episode of Bayou TV, we learned of Louisiana's effort to turn restitution money from the BP oil spill into rebuilding a popular fishing location near Grand Isle.
The restoration of the Caminada headlands of Fouchon and Elmer's Island, it's very important. It provides protection to the only road that comes in and out of Grand Isle. It provides protection to the camps and the homes that are on the mainland of the island. But the other thing is it protects the largest offshore oil and gas port in the world, which is the port of Fouchon. And so without that protection, those areas just become more and more vulnerable to storms and to hurricanes.
In a similar endeavor, projects along the Terrebonne Basin area are focused on rapidly restoring what has been lost.
This little island that we're fishing, right up against a big sandbar, it's all washed away. Water's about 3 feet deep right in front of these dead mangrove bushes. And you can see the currents coming ripping around here right now. The water's a little stained, but there is a ton of bait and there's big fish and stuff blowing all up in it. I like to hold off right on the edge of this bar. It comes up, you can see those guys wade fishing and they're actually catching fish behind us.
So the big focus since the oil spill, and even before the oil spill to a certain extent, was restoring barrier islands in Louisiana. So from the mouth of the Mississippi River all the way through Raccoon Point, which is the westernmost island in Terrebonne Parish, the state has put forth a lot of effort in investing oil spill money and other revenues in rebuilding those barrier islands.
These newly restored islands also serve as great fishing spots.
You can ask my wife, I spend endless hours looking on Google Earth. Still today, I'm on my 3rd summer here. I'll still lay in bed and I pull up the maps, and I'm looking at satellite imagery. And the cool thing is you can go back and I'll look at some of the older stuff and I go, wow, that's why those fish are holding on the end of that island, because that island went another mile out there. That's why those sandbars are out there. Fishing's a puzzle, so I just kind of put the puzzle together. A good fisherman can go fish basically anywhere and catch fish. a lot of these, once I learned my way around, and the cool thing was my son and I learned it together. You know, we started coming over here on days off and really started putting a plan together and learning where to fish and where not to fish. Most of these lakes are around, so if we caught fish on the north side and we got here and the wind was different, I just went to the other side and kind of looked for the same thing where I was catching fish.
So we made a quick little run from Whiskey over to the next island to the east. This is called Last Island or Trinity Island. And all of this used to be one giant barrier island. It all used to be called Ile de Neer or Last Island. It used to be 22 miles long. It was the biggest barrier island in Louisiana. And over the last century, it got cut to pieces by hurricanes. And again, restoring all these barrier islands is critical because it protects the communities to the north. It protects that sensitive marsh. But without the investment of restoring these islands over the last 3 decades, most of these barrier islands would have washed away for good. There would be no more islands to fish. So it's critical to come out here and pump the sediment. They're pulling the sand from an offshore sand site, an ancient headland of the Mississippi River called Ship Shoal. They're bringing it up here in barges and they're pumping it out onto these beaches and shaping it and then building marsh in behind them. Right now you're seeing an enormous amount of work. You're seeing, you know, projects that are 80 million, 100 million, 120 million, even 250 million plus projects because the money's available. And instead of the piecemeal approach that the state was taking prior to getting those oil spill dollars, where they were building a few acres here and a few acres there, now they've got the money to go out and make some really big investments on restoring an entire island or an entire beach headland at one time.
I find a lot of guys in my industry, we get caught up in that, man, we got to get out there, get our limit as fast as we can, get back in before the sun comes up, it gets hot. People don't necessarily want to do that drive 8 hours from Dallas to come fishing. They want to experience it all. They want to ride through the marsh. They want to see alligators. They want to see the pelicans. They want to experience everything we have to offer. And the parish is really helping out the fishing industry because they realize the amount of tourism dollars that it generates.
Closed captioning made possible by Explore Kayak Adventure Company. Fishing, sightseeing to photography tours, everything to make your paddling adventure happen. See Explore Kayak Adventure Company on Facebook and Instagram.
We love our children. We protect them. We guide them. We prepare them for life in the world. With all that we do, from deep in our hearts, we cannot control all things. Life-threatening illnesses and disabilities affect far too many of our children each year. While we cannot change the circumstance, we can make dreams come true. Dreams to provide hope, to provide spiritual healing and strength, to provide moments of happiness and relief in the hardest of times. We can give a glimmer of light and hope in a time of darkness and despair. Join huntofalifetime.org to help make dreams come true, to provide hope for children with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Hunt of a Lifetime is a non-profit organization fulfilling dreams for hunting and fishing trips to youth 21 and under with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Visit huntofalifetime.org to learn how you can make a difference.
We're here at the Star Banquet with Abigail Schaefer, and she's going to tell us all the secrets about fishing. Abigail, where did you catch this fish?
I actually do not know.
You don't know? What kind of fish was it?
A speckled trout.
Fantastic. Did you have a great time?
Yes, I did.
Well, thank you for fishing Star, and y'all have to fish next year.
Abigail, and I won this boat fishing in the Star Tournament.
Looking for cleaner energy? Propane can do that. When you are cooking with clean, affordable propane, you're cooking with gas. In the wintertime, nothing heats a home like Louisiana propane. And when you need hot water, propane's got you covered. Oh, and you won't regret that propane generator when the power goes out. Fuel for our future. I'm Miss Louisiana Courtney Hammonds. For more information and to find a propane dealer near you, visit louisianapropane.com.
Welcome back. We are here in Metairie at Chef Rommel's Catering with Rommel Hernandez, Executive Chef. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
He's also a big fisherman, so of course we're going to cook some fish today. Tell us what we're making.
Well, we picked up some big...
Who's we?
Drama, my friend Mike Jackson, a little guy that I go camping with.
No. He's being modest. He caught this literally last night for us, so this is as fresh as it gets.
There's a beautiful big drum right here, a little larger size we're going to get that cooks relatively fast. It's very lean.
So what's the name of this recipe?
This is going to be it's actually a Jewish dish. It's a smoked whitefish salad is what this is.
And it is interesting to know why we're using drum for this.
Because in the Jewish significance, their religious beliefs, they must have a dorsal fin and a scale. So I can serve a Cajun dish and convert it into 1,000 recipes and introduce it to a whole nother religion and culture. So this is why and it's a very good tasting local fish, which I'm all about the local things.
Absolutely. Yeah, and a lot of times people see the big drums and you don't want to eat the super big ones, but this is about the max size you want to go for.
Absolutely.
It's clean white meat. Smaller ones are good. This is a great size, and once again, fresh is best. All right, let's get started here.
So we've scaled the fish, we filleted it, and right now we have a beautiful, say about a 14-ounce fillet right here. And all I'm gonna do right here is get the beautiful fish right here.
What's that?
And this is a Creole seasoning, which we make our own here at Rommel's Catering.
You mentioned with your catering that everything you do is pretty much in-house.
Absolutely.
Which you take a lot of pride in your work.
Oh yeah, we believe in the local culture, the local products, and keeping, can't get any better than where we're from.
Well, here's a really good endorsement. We met Chef Rommel through Ryan Lambert. So if he's working with him, then he's the real deal.
That's my guy. That is my guy. So right here, what we're gonna do next is we're gonna take the fish and season it. You could use salt and pepper Creole, or if you don't eat salt, you could do it on your own without it. Okay. Usually a night before is good to marinate it, but it's so fresh we don't need to do that. So we're gonna come over here with a Cameron's stovetop smoker, which...
This is probably the coolest part of the recipe for folks like myself that don't have a grill at the moment. You can literally smoke fish in your oven with this, which I think is awesome.
Yep, so you can buy any dust we could pick up right now. We currently use this Cameron's. You could get it online, your local restaurant supply house. And what you want to do is you want to add a couple of tablespoons. You don't want to overwhelm it because obviously when you're smoking foods, the more wood you put in there, the more bitter and the more smoke you're going to get. So I'm going to put this at the bottom of a pan. And if you don't have one of these, you could get a saute pan with a lid that works on top.
It's almost like the indoor translation to the air fryer. People don't want to make the house smell, make all the grease mess. So if you're one or two people and you want to smoke something, this is a great alternative.
This is what we call a Cajun air fryer. So we're just going to simply lay down the fish right here, the fresh fish, right here. And you got to leave some breathing room for the fish to absorb the smoke. Absolutely. And
fish doesn't take a long time to smoke compared to other things.
Now we could probably smoke this for about 5 or 10 minutes and then let it sit and grab that flavor. So we're gonna carry this out and put it on the stovetop and come back about 15 or 20 minutes later.
All right, well when we come back, we are going to take this out of the oven smoker and put it all together for you.
Got it.
We love our children. We protect them. We guide them. We prepare them for life in the world. With all that we do, from deep in our hearts, we cannot control all things. Life-threatening illnesses and disabilities affect far too many of our children each year. While we cannot change the circumstance, we can make dreams come true. Dreams to provide hope, to provide spiritual healing and strength, to provide moments of happiness and relief in the hardest of times. We can give a glimmer of light and hope in a time of darkness and despair. Join huntofalifetime.org to help make dreams come true, to provide hope for children with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Hunt of a Lifetime is a non-profit organization fulfilling dreams for hunting and fishing trips to youth 21 and under with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Visit huntofalifetime.org to learn how you can make a difference.
Welcome back. We're at Rommel's Catering in Metairie, and we've got our finished product of our smoked drum. Let's show people how good it looks after just a few
ready
minutes
for this.
on top of the stove.
Here we got a nice hickory wood flavor.
I'm just flabbergasted that that little amount of shake at the bottom of there made such a great smoked fish.
You never knew.
Never knew.
Never knew, but now you
Can
know
always
today.
teach an old dog new tricks.
There you go. So we're gonna lightly take these off
Slide
right
that over
here, and we're gonna slide this off because it is hot
Yeah.
right here.
And it's not an overpowering smell like a big smoker would have.
That's right. It's just kind of like a lightly smoked. You could do it with chicken, fish. We don't
What do you want your heat at when you're smoking this?
probably a very low temp,
Okay.
so it doesn't overcook your product
Okay.
and your product stays moist. So we're just gonna cut this up, and as you do, nice smoky flavor right
smells
there.
awesome.
And so the next step we're gonna get right here, we're just gonna kind of chop this up a little, kind of like tuna fish or anything else that you do. Right here, you want to leave it kind of chunky. Right here.
You find that drum is a pretty versatile fish to cook with. I mean,
Oh,
you see it on recipes in restaurants all over the place in New Orleans.
Well, trout is a very seasonal fish, so
Right.
if we can't serve trout, we go with drum, and
Right.
we definitely tell. But I'll tell you that I love cooking with this fish, and I could do a million different varieties with it. And my next process I'm gonna get them good onions, just a little raw onion. You can put a little bit in there, almost like you would make a tuna fish salad. I'm gonna throw some what we call green onion or scallions. We call them green onions. We're gonna throw a dab of garlic in there,
Ooh, generous dab of garlic.
just a
there.
little bit, and we're gonna the low-fat mayo.
Oh yeah, uh-huh.
We're just gonna put a little bit in there.
Yeah, diet mayo.
How's that? Diet
Duke's
mayo.
diet mayonnaise.
And then we're gonna get some fresh lemons. You don't want the seeds in there because then that's how you lose your teeth. So we don't want to lose our teeth here.
No.
So we're gonna squeeze 1 or 2 lemons in there, just the juice. So we're gonna add a little of my homemade Creole season, which is garlic, black pepper, paprika, black garlic, little onion powder, and a few other spices in there. So basically, like any dish, we can leave it kind of lumpy.
Yeah, it's gonna break up as you
Right,
mix it up.
and if you want to make a pate out of this, you just put it in the food processor. You find and put a little gelatin in it, and you have pate. It's wonderful for fishing trips. You could keep it
Yeah.
at home. This is our finished right here on the
All right.
mix.
Chef-
Smoked drum
Chef
from
Roosevelt
Lake
smoked
Bourne,
drum. Can't get any more local than that.
Louisiana's finest. Everything is homemade in this house, so
Well done, Chef.
thank you. Bon appetit.
Add the taste of Louisiana to your next meal. If you like creamy, bold, tangy, or spicy, bring home the taste of Louisiana with sauces from Louisiana fish fry products.
If you're lucky enough to bag a deer or a hog this season, bring it here to Double D. Double D processes hogs and exotic game and guarantees your product is always the meat you brought to Double D.
Double D Meats in Bogalusa, home of country smoked, spicy jalapeno cheddar, and other customized flavors.
Bring your deer or your hog here to Double D, where you always get your meat back in return. It's worth a drive to Bogalusa from anywhere. Double D. Throughout Louisiana's history, we've faced continued pressure from hurricanes and land loss, but it's the character of the people who have kept our home alive. In his book, Louisiana Pastimes, Dr. Terry Jones writes on the accounts of one of Louisiana's most dismaying natural disasters, the last days of Last Island. Once a resort location during the early days of statehood, Isle de Nere was ravished by a Category 4 hurricane in 1856, killing nearly 200 people and washing away a then-standing luxury hotel. A survivor account states, men, women, and children were seen running in every direction in search of some means of salvation. The entire island had been swept clean, and there was no trace of the Tradewind Hotel or the 100 or so houses. Not one was left. Recent natural events remind us of the responsibility we have to work together in keeping our Louisiana home intact.
Every one of the islands from the mouth of the Mississippi River all the way through the Terrebonne Basin either has been restored in the last 15 years or will be restored over the next decade.
No matter the disaster, we will rebuild. No matter the challenge, we will overcome. Louisiana is resilient, and we continue to find ways for the next generation to enjoy the adventure, sportsmanship, and heritage of a Bayou Wild coast.